What is happening, everybody? On today's show, another Georgia tight end is expected to miss the entire spring. We'll catch you up on the latest there out at Georgia camp. Meanwhile, Florida, they start up their spring ball this week. We'll discuss a few things to keep an eye on there. The latest on the shakeup around the SEC basketball landscape when it comes to coaches being fired. And we will talk to Jason Jaramillo from StatHero. He's going to give you guys another way to bet and watch games this college basketball postseason. Locked on SEC starts right now.
You are Locked On SEC, your daily podcast on the Southeastern Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is happening, everybody? Welcome into Locked On SEC. It is great to have you guys along. I'm Chris Gordy. Thanks for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Remember, Locked On SEC is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube and at lockedonsec.com. All right, let's jump into it. Plenty to discuss. Let's go around the conference.
Boots out to the right. Intercepted. Makes the handoff. What a catch!
Around the conference.
And we start over at Georgia as Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs are preparing for the 2022 season after winning the national championship last year. However, Bulldogs dealing with some injuries this spring so far. They're going to be without two tight ends. You already know that Brock Bowers is going to be out with shoulder surgery. He was their big breakout star last year. Well, on Tuesday, Kirby revealed that Darnell Washington is going to miss the spring session with a lower leg issue. He battled injuries last year, too, was only able to appear in 8 games, caught 10 passes, 154 yards, and a touchdown. So here's hoping he's back and ready to go for fall camp along with Brock Bowers. But we know how much Georgia loves to use the tight end. It'll be a big void there at that tight end spot this spring with both Bowers and Darnell Washington out. But again, hoping both guys are back, ready to go for fall camp and healthy, because Brock Bowers, man, how can he top what he did last year? High expectations for him, but don't forget about Darnell Washington, because he's a guy who's also big body that can also be productive too when whoever's getting him the ball. Stetson Bennett, anyone? We will see. Meanwhile, the Florida Gators, they start up their spring practice this week. They have prioritized their offensive line since Billy Napier has gotten there. They hired O-line coach Rob Sale away from the New York Giants. They brought in Darnell Stapleton as well from Louisiana. And one of the other pieces they brought over from Louisiana was O-lineman Osiris Torrance coming in as a transfer. He is definitely a name to watch this spring, as well as the running back Montrell Johnson, who was very productive at ULL. And then one other guy to keep an eye on this spring for Florida is their highest-rated signee out of high school, according to 24/7 Sports, that's safety Kamari Wilson, coming out of the IMG Academy. We know the Gators have used true freshmen at safety in recent years. Rashad Torrance, he did it. So won't be surprised if Kamari Wilson is a guy that is getting some first-team reps in that defensive backfield this spring with some potential playmakers back there. So, again, just a couple names to keep an eye on there with Florida starting up their camp there. Meanwhile, over at South Carolina, Shane Beamer, going back to the days of Steve Spurrier in Columbia, adding to his analyst staff, Devontae Holloman, who was a star for the Gamecocks from 2009 to 2012. Remember those years where they went 38-16. He's going to serve as a defensive analyst on the Gamecock staff. Shane Beamer announced this week. Holloman, part of that program where they won the SEC East title, was a 6th-round pick for the Dallas Cowboys in 2013, but not the first time Holloman's been on the staff. He did return to the Gamecocks in 2014 as a video assistant under then-coach Steve Spurrier. Back to Florida again real quickly. We did hear that Florida has announced their official date for their pro day. That's going to be held on March 18th in Gainesville. 14 current and 2 former players are going to take part in it. Of course, you'll have Kaiir Elam, the defensive back, who some people think has potential to be a first-round pick. Also have big Zachary Carter, Jeremiah Moon, Damian Pierce, among others. A lot of those guys were down there at the Senior Bowl just a couple weeks ago. Meanwhile, over at Auburn, Brian Harsin making some comments this week about the situation at Auburn that led to the offseason controversy. He appeared over on the Next Round live show in Alabama, shared his thoughts on trust issues with the Auburn boosters, including some who apparently wanted him out. He said, I think there's always something you can speculate on, like who the decision makers are. I think more so at Auburn from what I've learned, but at the same time, I'm here to coach football. I'm here to lead this team. So from that standpoint, I don't get into too much of those decisions and necessarily who's making them. To me, everyone has a responsibility. I've got bosses. That's one thing I understand as well. I got things I need to do as a football coach here. Now, Harsin also went on to say that it's not about somebody winning or somebody losing at Auburn. He said this is all about us all aligning and pulling in the same direction. That is the key to success. So when everybody believes or is aligned with what we want and where we want to go, the players and everybody in your program feel that. At the end of the day, we know if we feel that, we'll be in a really great environment. So Brian Harsin speaking pretty bluntly about what is going on in Auburn, and it's a big year for him to get this program back on track and get back to some winning. Over at Alabama, they have shuffled up their strength and conditioning staff here in recent weeks, and the Tide adding a strength staffer who has extensive experience in the Big Ten, Rick Dannison, now listed as an assistant strength and conditioning coach. He revealed on Twitter that he's heading to Alabama. The turnover with Matt Ray and Matt Clapp both leaving Alabama. Dannison joins David Ballou, Paul Constantine, and UJ Johnson on the football team's strength staff. Dannison spent the last 2 years at Michigan State, where he worked as an assistant strength and conditioning coach for the Spartans football program. Meanwhile, some Mississippi State baseball news. Landon Sims, a pitcher we know, suffered a serious elbow injury earlier this year. This week it was announced that he is going to undergo surgery on a torn UCL and will miss the remainder of his junior season. He put on social media, "This is not the way I wanted my season and possibly Bulldog career to end. I know it's a bigger part of a bigger plan that might sometimes be hard to understand." Sims left the game against Tulane just 2 weeks ago with an injury in the fourth inning. The junior right-hander had a 1.15 ERA this year, posting a stat line of over 15 innings pitched with 27 strikeouts. So that's a big loss for the reigning national champion Mississippi State Bulldogs in baseball, but they will have to find use from guys in other ways on that pitching staff. And there you have it. That is the latest news around the conference. Thank you guys again for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Coming up next, we're going to get into a little bit of basketball news. We got some, of course, shakeups going on around the coaching staffs and some postseason awards being handed out and all that. So we'll get to that here in just a second, right here on Locked On SEC. Of course, we know that the basketball season is upon us, postseason basketball season, and StatHero, they have got a unique way for you to get in on the action. They offer NCAA single game pick'ems, pitting star players against each other, and a hybrid between fantasy and sports gambling. You could take control back from those handicappers that always seem to have the advantage. StatHero is the easiest and fastest way for you to get your sports action fix. The simple, sleek gameplay will have you playing in minutes. It is what daily fantasy was meant to be. Check them out right now. StatHero.com/lockedon. StatHero.com/lockedon. Use our promo code LOCKEDON. We'll get you a 100% deposit match. StatHero.com/lockedon. Use promo code LOCKEDON. Get a 100% match. Use our promo code LOCKEDON. Terms and conditions apply. I'm telling you guys right now, it is such a cool, more fun way to enjoy the tournament outside of just filling out a bracket. StatHero. Check them out right now. Also, a good time of year to tell you guys is when you're probably going to be enjoying some tasty beverages, watching all the basketball action. You're going to be packing on some of those pounds, and you need to be thinking a little bit healthier. And that's why we tell you about our friends over at Built Bar. It is the Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate, yes, but they are low in calorie, high in protein. Get rid of those candy bars or junk food, whatever it is you're eating out there, and go with a better option, and that is Built Bar. You can go to their website right now, built.com, scroll down their website. You'll be blown away by some of the factoids out there on calorie count and everything. They're high in fiber, low in carbs, packed with protein, 130 calories, 4 grams sugar, 4 grams net carbs in many of them. and tons of tasty, delicious flavors from the mint brownie, coconut almond. Go check them out right now. Go to built.com. Use our promo code LOCKED15. That's going to get you 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCKED15. Get 15% off at built.com. Going along here, Locked On SEC, and we got a lot we got to get into when it comes to basketball news going on out there. So, plenty to discuss. Again, thank you guys for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Make sure to check out the Locked On Bracket Breakdown, by the way. It is down and available on our podcast feed or up on the YouTube channel. You can check it out right now. It's me, Andy Patton, and betting expert Lee Sterling give you in-depth breakdowns on every matchup against the Locked On Bracket Breakdown. Let's jump into a little bit of our basketball news. We know South Carolina has reportedly reached a decision on Frank Martin's future, finishing his 10th season in Columbia. And as it was reported on Sunday, John Rothstein of CBS Sports reporting South Carolina has parted ways with Frank Martin, finished 18-13 this season, lost to Mississippi State in the SEC tournament to finish their season. Gamecocks lost 3 of their final 4 games as Frank Martin finished 171-147 at South Carolina, a run that will be mostly remembered for his Final Four run, if you remember 2016-2017, but the Gamecocks' only NCAA tournament appearance under Martin that year. Since then, the Gamecocks have had at least 13 losses in each season. His win total, however, was third most in program history, but just kind of seemed to unravel, and there were question marks every year. Is this the last year for Frank Martin? We'll always remember that tournament run with Sindarius Thornwell, who was awesome. But Frank Martin, a really good guy, if you've ever had a chance to talk to him. We've had some great quotes and sound clips we played from throughout the years talking about how much he cares for the student athlete and all this other stuff. So Frank Martin, here's hoping that he lands on his feet, winds up somewhere in a good spot. But Frank Martin out at South Carolina. Now, Florida, we know, moved on from Mike White. He is now the head coach at Georgia. He was officially introduced this week. So congrats to Georgia. They now have their guy in Mike White. But the Florida Gators, they made the NIT field, and it was announced that associate head coach Al Pinkins is serving as their interim coach. White at Florida, of course, went 142-88 in 7 seasons. We will see premier job at Florida. We'll see who they're able to land or who's at least rumored that they'll be going after for the Florida head coaching job. Now, Mississippi State, there were rumors out there from Outkick that Ben Holland had been fired and even cleaned out his desk. Well, Mississippi State beat writers came out to say that report was inaccurate, and Outkick changed their report to say that Ben Holland will not return next season, but had not been fired yet. Mississippi State Athletic Director John Cohen said publicly that Howland will coach the Bulldogs in the NIT if they're given a bid and turn 65 in May. We'll kind of see what the future is. Didn't seem all that committed to the future. Ben Howland in Starkville. So that's definitely one to keep an eye on there. But as of now, not official Ben Howland out, but some people thinking he's going to join the ranks of Will Wade, who got fired, Quanzo Martin, who got fired, of course, Frank Martin, who got fired, Mike White taking Tom Crane's job, who he got fired. So tons of shakeup around the SEC. And I will keep an eye on some of the big names that maybe start getting rumored for some of these jobs this offseason. Over at Texas A&M, their athletic director, Ross Bjork, did not hold back going after the NCAA selection committee as the Texas A&M Aggies were held out of the NCAA tournament. Aggies did accept a bid to the NIT as a number 1 seed. He said, look, it doesn't make any sense. It's hard to figure out. It's a flawed selection process if we do not reward teams who deserve an opportunity. Based on how we responded before, I can assure you, no one will battle with stronger fight than the Aggie basketball team and the staff with Buzz Williams. So the Aggies were red hot as they won 3 games in 3 days at the SEC tournament in Tampa. Joe Lunardi even had them in his bracketology, but the selection committee did not put the Aggies in. They did list them as a 4th replacement team just in case COVID protocols took any teams out, but the odds of COVID would take 4 teams out this late in the game. Probably not going to happen. The AP All-America men's basketball teams were announced on Tuesday, and after a really nice year in the SEC, you had 4 standouts receive honors. On the first team, All-America team, it was Oscar Tshiebwe from Kentucky. Fantastic season for him. On the second team, All-America team, it was Jabari Smith from Auburn. Again, another fantastic year for him. He's likely, real good chance to go number 1 overall in the NBA draft. The third team All-America team had Walker Kessler from Auburn and J.D. Notte from Arkansas. Well deserved for those guys. And then in the honorable mentions category, Tari Eason from LSU found his name on there. Quick note on the Tennessee staff, as Rick Barnes and the Tennessee Volunteers, we know they're a 3 seed in the tournament. They will take on 14 seed Longwood in round 1. But after the season, Barnes is going to have to replace a key assistant. According to Jeff Goodman, ECU is looking to hire Mike Schwartz, who has been on Rocky Top staff since 2015 when Barnes was hired at Tennessee. Schwartz is credited with building the Vols defense into one of the best units in the entire country. In the Ken Palm ratings, the Vols have the number 3 defense in the nation this year. Meanwhile, Mizzou, we did mention Quanzo Martin had been fired. Well, on Monday it was reported that a freshman from last year's team, guard Anton Brookshire, is entering the transfer portal. Played in 18 games with 3 starts before a wrist injury cost him the final month of the year. And lastly, Seth Greenberg, the ESPN analyst, he went on the Paul Feinbaum show this week and had some interesting comments about the SEC, saying, look, the SEC has leapfrogged the ACC when it comes to basketball. Crazy statement there, because ACC is one of the premier dominant conferences in basketball. So the SEC, they got 6 teams in to the NCAA tournament this year. The ACC only got 4 in. And there you have it. That is the latest basketball news going on. Getting ready, getting you set for Thursday with the start of the NCAA tournament. Thank you guys again for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. And a quick note, we are going to catch up in just a second with our guy from Stat Hero. We're going to get you exactly what you need to know for maybe a different way to enjoy the basketball games coming up this weekend. So that is coming up right after I tell you about, man, this is the time of year where when it comes to taking road trips and all that, you need to make sure that your car is ready to go and you got everything you need. And that's why this episode is brought to you by Rock Auto. You save time and money when you use Rock Auto. Why would you spend 30%, 50%, or even 100% more for the same parts from a chain part store or a car dealership? Rock Auto is a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. Price is reliably low for every customer. They got everything you need, from brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, even new carpet. Go to rockauto.com right now. See all the parts available for your car or your truck, and make sure you're right locked on in their How Did You Hear About Us boxes, that they know that we sent you. It's an amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. Visit rockauto.com today. Get ready for all your summer travels ahead. Right along here, Locked On SEC, and man, we are talking all about the tournament, getting you guys ready. So much going on and so many different ways to get involved in the action. Look, there's gone are the days where you just fill out a bracket and then by Thursday night, your freaking bracket's busted, you're depressed, you're down to the dumps. So we figure we get somebody in here who might be able to give you another way to get involved with the tournament, where, you can actually keep playing after that little sheet of paper you filled out is gone and done and dead with on Thursday night. And one of the guys coming in here to talk a little bit about other ways you can get involved is our buddy Jason Jaramillo from Stat Hero. He is the CEO of Stat Hero, and of course the app Stat Hero. You can find it in the App Store, and just go to stathero.com/lockedon is how you can find it on the website. But Jason, what's going on, man? Welcome in.
Chris, I love that Spanish twang you put on the last name, man. That sounded great.
Well, perfect. Glad we could get it right for you. Let's just jump right in, man. What are your thoughts on how the bracket kind of shaped out this weekend? Because look, there was a lot of things happened that were expected, but look, we cover the SEC. We were a little disappointed that Texas A&M didn't get in. We thought they did enough running through the conference tournament, losing to Tennessee in the championship game, but seemed like they had put together enough, but they get left out. But man, some big dogs up top with Tennessee and Obviously Auburn and Kentucky and Arkansas. So SEC looks to be in pretty good shape here. But what'd you make on how the bracket shaped out?
Well, there was I'm going to call him a dark horse. Before the conference tournament even started, I was all on board with it's easy to say now, but Tennessee was my team. Where's the love, Chris? Like, how did they not get a higher seed than they got? Is at least my take on it. Just looking at the bracket, right?
Yeah, it seems like they don't put any focus on why are we playing the conference championship games if you're not even going to take into account the winners of that, right?
Yeah, like A&M made it to the championship, but no, they don't deserve it.
Right.
So yeah, I completely agree with you on that, man. But yeah, that was probably the biggest one that stood out to me the most. For me right now, I don't see Auburn really moving that far. At least this is, again, my personal opinion. Again, like you said, A&M didn't get the bid, but yeah, those were both good. Both of my main calls, because Auburn lost so early. You don't really see in the history of the tournament on a team losing early going far in the tournament. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's a great point. And when you lose early in your conference tournament game, it's very rarely do you make it deep into the tournament. So for Auburn, they're really gonna have to dig deep, but they got the talent. They got NBA talent on that roster. Jabari Smith is a monster, and he can go off at any given moment. Jason, I want to get into it a little bit. I know everyone is so used to filling out their brackets, and then they get busted in the first weekend, and you're done. Let our listeners know what you guys have going on over at StatHero that could kind of make the best time of year even better.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So what we're doing at StatHero, we opened up about a year ago, and it's basically a hybrid between fantasy sports and a sports book. And that meaning you're playing the house one-on-one on our head-to-head matchups. What StatHero does is we offer lineups that you see ahead of time that you get to pick and choose who you want to play. You put your lineup in, you put your play in, how much, we'll match it, and it's one-on-one, you versus us. So it's pretty simple. And then we have a pick'em that's been really popular with the college basketball side of things. And how pick'em works is we give you two rosters, team A versus team B. So for example, if you look at StatHero, we have a lot of single games. So if we're talking, for example, we have the North Carolina game up against Marquette. We basically take two players, a two-player lineup on one side, a two-player lineup on another side, and then they face each other. And you basically say, okay, which team do I think is going to win? And then you basically pick that side and you put your play in, and that's it, you're in. So it's basically the fastest, easiest way to play DFS. A lot better odds than a sports book because you have to rely on that referee side of things and those bad calls and those bad beats. Now you're just betting on players. You're playing players. I'm rooting on two players to beat these two players. And, again, it's getting a lot of traction. So that's what we're doing right now for the tournament.
I've been on the website before, and I've bet on the website. I actually just downloaded the app, so it's a little bit easier for me now to navigate the app because I'll be like when I first went to the website, it was a little overwhelming. Like you guys have so much stuff going on, but it's a good thing. Like you got head to head, you've got pick'em, you got parlays, you got survivor pools. There's so much to do. What would you recommend for somebody who's just getting started? They just downloaded the app, kind of want to ease their foot into the water. What's the best thing to kind of start with?
Oh, yeah, great question. We made the pick'em gameplay specifically for those beginners, for those people that aren't able to have the time to follow these teams, in detail, right? Sports betting, it seems like again, you have a 50-50 chance, but most of the time on a long-term basis, you're losing, right? I think the best sports bettors in the world are hitting 51, 52%. On StatHero, on the pick'em side of things, our users are hitting 45 to 60% consistently. That's 4 times higher than the industry win rate of 15% on these bigger tournaments, right? So I would definitely say the pick'em side of things, the pick'em, all you do is you're seeing two rosters and you're saying, I think this roster is going to win. Boom, making my pick, you're in 2 minutes.
And it's a mix of roster, right? Like it's guys from all different teams on this one and on that one, right?
Exactly. So we have two different versions. We have what you just said, right? A bunch of different rosters. And then we do single games where we'll just take, if you want to just watch one game, we'll just use those roster or use those players from that particular game, and we'll create 2 rosters next to each other.
It's very cool. And man, I mean, I think, look, I'm with you. I mean, you kind of get bored with just the same old. Everybody's looking for something a little bit different, or something new. And, with the game starting, I mean, we got the playing games going on, and then we got the tournament starting on Thursday, and there's tons of stuff going on. And do want to remind our listeners, you can go to RunYourPool, StatHero.com/lockedon, StatHero.com/lockedon. Use our promo code lockedon, and they've got tons of great stuff going on there. Terms and conditions to apply. But Jason, last thing I got to know is who's in your Final Four? Who are we picking?
Oh man, like I said, I'm a Tennessee guy right now, but again, how can you not? I'm just talking SEC here, but because I know that's what your listeners are more into, but I think Kentucky has a legit chance at making the furthest run. My heart says Tennessee, but looking at Kentucky, maybe the loss in the conference tourney is going to be a good thing for them, and they have the best draw, I think, being in the East, being the number 1. So as of now, I think my heart says Tennessee, but my mind says Kentucky. I think they're going to make the biggest run in the SEC. Which again, is that a big prediction? I'm not sure, but we do, Chris. Before I sign off, too, I want to tell your listeners that we have a free pick'em contest that we're offering. That listeners for free can pick a side, and if they pick the right side, they're getting a free $25 on us. So
Wow.
All they got to do. If they lose, nothing happens. But if they pick the right side, go into our free plays on the pick'em side, and $25 to play with on us. So
that's very cool. And again, the app, I can't stress how easy it is. I mean, you just go on there, it's got all the sports, you pick which sport you want, and boom, you're in business. And StatHero.com/lockedon, the easiest way to get signed up and get in there. And Jason, it's gonna be fun, man. We're looking forward to it. Thursday and Friday, it is madness. Everybody's taking off of work, and you're just having some fun. And again, we'll still have our paper bracket, sure, but by Thursday night, I'm usually ripping this thing up and throwing it away, and I'm going to be on the Stat Hero app because this thing's going to be dead and gone with. So, Jason, thanks so much for the time. I really appreciate it. And man, we'll have to catch up again soon.
Thanks, Chris. You're the man. Appreciate it, man.
All right. He is Jason Jaramillo, CEO of Stat Hero. Head to stathero.com. This has been Locked On SEC.